About 100 years ago, a very young Mexican girl laid in bed for 9 months, unable to move. Her parents told her that she had polio and that she might never walk again. She remained determined to get better, and her young mind was obsessed with one thought: when I get older, I'm going to do as much as I can to help people. And so, at the age of 7, she knew she wanted to become a nurse. Though her leg remained weak for the rest of her life, she made a full recovery, and at the age of 18, was just a few months away from taking her first class in nursing. Heading home after school, she called a ride on a bus in downtown Mexico City. Moments later, the bus collided with a trolley. When the smoke and dust cleared, she lay amongst the rubble and amongst the dead, a steel handrail impaling her through the pelvis, coming out the other side. And so, for the second time in her life, she was confined to months of bed rest, forced to wear a full-body cast, and incapable of moving. As the minutes, hours, and days blended into one another, she gave up hope of ever becoming a nurse. But as she lay, she looked upward at a mirror atop her ceiling and saw her reflection. While looking at it, she picked up a paintbrush and created her first self-portrait, and for one brief moment, she felt free. Her name was Frida Kahlo, and she turned her pain into art.
Ooh, StoryBored USA.
Hey Storyboarders, and welcome to another episode of StoryBored USA. Pain is a common sensation that all people feel, and yet one that all of us actively try to avoid. Whether it's physical, like stubbing your toe in the dark, or emotional, like losing a loved one, it's never a fun thing to deal with. But pain can be a great vehicle to examine the human condition, and some of the best artists in the world have been able to transform their pain in creative and unique ways.
Through creating art on the topic of pain and sharing your story with others, you're able to connect and bring together everyone in the world who's able to see the same things that you do. In the end, that type of connectivity, that's how you build art, and that's how you build love.
That's Zhenghua Yang, or Z for short. And he's the founder and executive producer for Serenity Forge, a video game development company that fosters education, inspires art, and promotes healthy living. Z, very much like Frida, was able to transform his near-death experience into powerful and moving art.
When I turned 18, I was diagnosed with a severe and chronic, near-fatal illness. This illness was so severe that I had to be hospitalized for 2 years, from when I was 18 to when I was 20 years old. During this time, doctors told me that I could die at any moment.
We'll come back to Z's story in a little bit, but first, let's talk about Frida. Using her distinct surrealist approach to art, Frida communicated the ongoing physical pain she felt on a daily basis, and every one of her paintings tells a very clear story that started with the trauma she suffered due to the traffic accident. These include paintings about her ongoing spinal surgeries, which caused her to be constantly bedridden and force-fed, and ultimately resulted in her inability to have a child. Throughout it all, she felt like an innocent animal, crippled and hunted down by outside forces that she could not control. And of course, her art did not just reflect her physical pain, but also her emotional pain. Some paintings are about detachment, such as the feeling of lifelong abandonment she felt from her mother. Other paintings are about cultural identity, as the daughter of a Mexican mother and a German father, and her ongoing exploration to unite her multicultural roots. Some paintings are about the concept of gender and her desire to exert her sexual independence in a very conservative society. But the biggest hurdle in her life was her rocky marriage to Diego Rivera, one of the most famous Mexican artists of his age. Frida lived in the shadow of Diego's fame and constantly found herself at the mercy of his numerous affairs. But throughout their rocky relationship, Diego remained a source of both pleasure and pain for Frida. Even if you don't know anything about Frida's life, just by looking at her paintings, you feel like you are peering into the soul of someone who suffers, but doesn't want to suffer alone. And so she invites us into her world, and for a brief moment, we, the viewer, suffer alongside her, because she has given us permission to feel her pain. Frida Kahlo never became a nurse, but she did hold true to her promise to do as much as she could to help people, and she did it by telling us her story through her art.
During this time, doctors told me that I could die at any moment. Those 2 years, through my loneliness and despair, I turned to the only thing that gave me meaning in life, and that was playing video games once again. Through playing these multiplayer games, I was able to make friends from all around the world. These friends who didn't even speak English would check in with me every day. I was able to be in the shoes of someone who was going out there and saving the world, and that made me realize that I could actually do that. I could feel good about myself, even though I was in a hospital bed. 3 years after I was diagnosed with the illness, I was finally able to go back to school. I couldn't help but look back and think about how, when I played these games in the hospital, these games were not designed to help me. Yet, they did. What if we began designing video games with the intention to help other people? And that's when I started my company, Serenity Forge. I feel lucky to have gone through what I did when I was a kid, because without it, I wouldn't be here today doing what I love. And now, because of my illness, I'm able to look into the future and appreciate every moment that's given to me. Each day is a gift, and all I want to do is to create art for others so that they can enjoy life the way that I do.
All of these physical and emotional problems would crush anyone else, but not Frida and not Zhenghua. That's why art, based on pain experienced by the artist, is so important. The more art you experience, the more you realize that your pain has been felt by countless other people, male and female, dead or alive, from cultures that couldn't be more different than your own. When we tell our stories in our own voice, we fulfill the promise of this powerful quote spoken by Frida. I paint self-portraits because I am so often alone, because I am the person I know best. Thank you for joining me, Storyboarders. I'll see you soon. Hey there, William D. Caballero. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of StoryBored USA. If you like what you saw, please hit the subscribe button below and tell all your friends about this show. We're coming back with many more episodes that explore the creative process in an effort to help you, the viewer, understand the power of your creative voice. So thank you so much, guys. Take care, and I'll see you next time.